Based on my most rigorous reflections of experience and research, here is how to deal with feeling lonely. And it's kind of a story, but I heard once that a story is what separates a person from the truth. So I figured maybe that if I tell my story, maybe you guys would get something out of it. And I'd love for you to tell me your story in the comments before or after you hear it. So if before, please feel free to let me know in the comments. But otherwise, let's get into it. Now, this is somehow something I didn't get from a book, but I feel like there are two different types of loneliness that everyone experiences at some points during their lives. There's short-term loneliness where you feel lonely for maybe days, weeks, and then there's more long-term loneliness where you feel lonely for maybe months or years. And in October 2016, I took all of my shit from one town and moved it to another. I was only 19. This was so scary to me, even though I already had a job at the town I moved to and was commuting there from the original town. But you know, sometimes you're scared to do things, and you do them because you feel this urge deep down. You just feel it like you need to do it or else you'll regret it. Maybe that rings a bell for some of you guys. I hope it does. It's almost like it's pulling you. You're not pushing yourself, it's pulling you. And it's like you can't even help yourself, whether you're scared to do it or not. I feel like the best thing anyone can hear when they're feeling lonely is the two words, me too. And I'm not talking about the whole movement or whatever from last year or 2 years ago, but if anything, that's probably why it was so powerful. So prior to this, I had no experience with true loneliness. I mean, my depression when I was 17 was fucking horrible. I don't need to explain why. Anyone who has finished high school, or not even yet, has probably experienced that 1 year during which a fan is turned all the way up and a monkey throws a monstrous heap of turd right at it for the bedroom of your mind to be blasted with from top to bottom, side to side, and it's all just very uncomfortable. We've all had that year. For anyone who hasn't, well, bless your soul. I consider you lucky and I wish you the best of luck in the future. But when I moved, it took me at least like 6 months to make sense of how fucking different everything was in my life. It was so surreal. Just knowing I'm even an hour-long drive away from where I was raised. I mean, it was difficult for me to process. And anyone who's watching this video may or may not have done like 10 times more than that. But you know, everyone has their extremes, but because I was alone, I lived alone, it was a new living space for me. Yes, I had a job, but I had no friends. And I'm not the type to naturally enjoy going out and meeting new people. So I spent so much time in my apartment just working on music. And I would go to work and be excited to get back from work so I could fucking get back to fucking work on music. Like 17 to 18 hours a day. Or even less, maybe 4 times a year tops. I would see a friend or two from my hometown, and almost never the same person. A couple people I talked to just as often, and I probably saw them less often. And it was just very strange for me, because this is probably relatable to some viewers, but I'm a compartmentalizer. As much as I hate labeling myself and just throwing words, oh, I'm this, I'm that. But I like letting the feelings just kind of wash over me as I sift through all the different things and ways I feel about it in this situation. I don't like letting them dominate me or anything. I kind of just let it wash over me while I do that. I kind of take them in and breathe them out, and that's how I deal with things. If you found this through search, you probably didn't know till now that I'm an entirely self-produced rapper and singer. And I mean, handling something like this was a huge thing for me. I write about very, very, very similar things, but I never write about this because it's just that fucking hard for me to at least put into words that make a lot of sense together. I would drive to my mom's house an hour away once a month to pick up my medication. The reason why is just a long story. But long story short, I don't have to deal with it anymore. And I would think about how much I've grown without the help during that drive of the people I used to be close to. I think I grew more without their help than with it. In fact, they definitely aren't bad people or anything, but they may have actually been holding me back from this growth. If that's not scary enough, the scariest thing was not knowing what areas of my overall self I really wasn't looking at and being like, how can I improve this? Because if I don't, it will probably bite me in the ass in the future, if not the near future. Hard. Somewhere down the line. What was so scary about it was just not knowing everything that could have been, would have been, how I could have changed it. There was so much like internal grieving, just looking at past life situations and being like, why can't I make this enjoyable in the ways that was? But eventually I realized it had to do with how the move was transforming me as a person. And that literally hit home for me. Now with this channel, for those who are seeing me on here for the first time, dude, I'm fucking obsessed with self-education. I think it's a catalyst of the future. I think it's the ultimate ignition of the historical progress of humanity. So there was a book, all link in the description for anyone who wants to check it out and read the reviews, by this lady. She calls herself a shame researcher. Her name is Brene Brown. Incredibly smart person, amazing person. The world needs more people like her. And this book is called Braving the Wilderness. There were one or two moments I heard in the audiobook that really tweaked my perspective. And the more I grew, the more they grew with me on me. And it became easier to kind of look at my situation as more alone than lonely. There's a difference between the two, being alone and feeling lonely, if you think about it, and I feel like the book really brings that home. Feeling like the world is a wilderness to you is one thing, but at the end of the day, you are the wilderness. You are part of the world. You are part of what externally manifests your greatest fear. I say this from really reflecting on that and my experience, but if you're comfortable with yourself, you get to know yourself. You will fear the environment a lot less over time, and appreciating that process will, no bullshit, it will begin to attract more like-minded people to you from all over the place, depending on where you shift your focus, but that's a topic for another video. But what do you guys think? Are there any things that have helped you in your experience so far as like how to deal with feeling lonely? Like, what's the difference to you between feeling lonely and being alone? Please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if there are any topics you want me to talk about in future videos, and I'll give you a shout out if and when I use them. Please feel free to hit me up. There are links at the bottom of the description to all my social media. Make sure to leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. If you could turn on that little bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.